I'm going to talk a little bit about perhaps a slightly different view on that. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the ways in which digital science have developed technologies and developed products which are intended to assist the publisher's platform, if you like, to make the publisher's platform more engaging, to deliver more value to the researcher. Because as Grace says, there's more to being a publisher than simply creating. Well, it's not simple, but there's more to being a publisher than traditional scientific publications. There's all sorts of different ways of interacting with researchers, and perhaps many of these, the natural home for them may still be on the publisher's platform. So this is a slide I put together some time ago, and it's meant to represent the dizzying array, as I said there, of technologies that are available to publishers. Technologies and startup companies and ideas and new concepts, and it's very easy to feel overwhelmed by all the different sorts of things that you could possibly do to engage and to enhance your platforms. So I suggest, and I think this is certainly something that we think about a lot at Digital Science, is that a good test for these types of ideas is, does it build engagement with your stakeholders? Whether we're talking about researchers, whether we're talking about librarians, whether we're talking about perhaps funders or the Office of Research Management, or whoever else is interested in the research that we are publishing, does it help build that engagement? And secondly, does it then allow you to leverage that engagement in a way that will make a bottom line difference to your business? So is it useful in terms of your business goals? Now this is very similar to the kind of idea that Grace was talking about with that cycle of research, and I borrowed this concept from a talk that I saw Annette Thomas give at the Charleston Library Conference a couple of years ago. And she said this, and I think I'm paraphrasing her a little bit, that the publisher's new job is to support researchers at every stage of the research cycle. So there's more things that we can do. And in one sense, these are challenges, and perhaps these are new responsibilities, but also they represent new opportunities. And so Digital Science has put a lot of effort into thinking about ways in which we can help researchers, in which we can accelerate the progress of science by supporting people at every stage of that cycle, whether it be learning about new discoveries in things like reference managers like Recube, or some of the other reference managers in the space like Mendeley and Zotero and so forth, or whether it's planning experiments or conducting those experiments. We have some lab management software that's available. Publishing data, things like Figshare allow researchers to push data out into the community, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second, and then publishing those discoveries, and then whatever else happens downstream in terms of maximizing impact. And that gives you an inner ring, if you like, to this cycle, which is all about tracking funding, tracking research, making sure that credit is assigned, maximizing impact, and again that is something that all of your stakeholders are interested in, whether we're talking about the researcher because they want to maximize their own personal impact, whether we're talking about the library because they have research metrics or mission statements that they have to fulfill, or whether we're talking about funders who want to engage with the public, who want to generate research or pay for research that engages with the public, engages with society in certain ways. So there's a whole new ecosystem that the internet has essentially enabled to occur, and all sorts of new opportunities. So 3 examples. I obviously don't have enough time to talk about everything that we're doing, but 3 examples that I'd like to talk about are 3 particularly publisher-centered products that we have. Altmetric, which many of you have probably heard of. It's the Altmetrics concept is the measurement of the different ways in which people interact with science, the measurement of the mentions, if you like. We have Figshare, which is kind of a way of publishing data and a way of visualizing data that can be on publishers' platform. It can also be something that individual researchers push out and then link to a publisher's platform to drive traffic in that kind of way. And then there's Recube, which is a reference manager suite. It's known as a reference manager suite, but also it has a number of platform extensions which are intended to keep researchers online and engaged on the platform. So a little bit about altmetric. The purpose of altmetric is to broaden the way in which we measure impact. Researchers and society, as it says here, they interact with science in many different ways. And traditional measures of impact are, of course, the citation, the number of citations, the impact factor. But there is, of course, more to the way in which people interact with science than that. There's public outreach, there's public engagement, there's social media, which I think is what altmetrics is most renowned for, is measuring of tweets and Facebook posts and things like that. But there's also traditional news outlets, and even further beyond that, there's things like commercial impact, mentions in patents and things like that. There's legislative impact, policy documents, and there's and so on and so forth. A whole range of different ways in which people communicate with science and interact with science. Here's a slide that talks a little bit about the implementation that was done on Nature, which Grace has already spoken about, so I won't go into too much detail, but the power of altmetrics as a product for publishers is that it enables people to analyse that type of impact in all sorts of different ways, whether that's comparing to competing journals, or whether that's looking at trends in social media and how things are changing, whether it's kind of looking at the way in which other people are interested in things, or looking at the way in which other people interact with things, so that you can essentially get ahead of the curve or see where things are going, so that you can interact with people in ways in which they find useful and productive for them. So Figshare, that's the second product that I'm going to talk about. Figshare is a very cool product from Mark Arnold, who's the founder of Figshare over at Digital Science, and he and his team have developed a way of enabling people to not only publish data but to visualize data in all sorts of esoteric and novel types of file formats and research outputs, whether that is an exotic data type from microscopy or from astronomy or from an MRI scan or whatever it happens to be, or whether it's a PhD thesis or a conference proceeding or any other kind of research output. Anything can be put on the web, made discoverable because it can be given a DOI, and then that can then be used to, that can be linked, if you like, to the version of record, to the article, which when, as people discover it through various mechanisms, they can be then driven to that article so that they can more easily discover the traditional publication, so that they can cite that if they wish to. And also there are a number of other features that it has. For example, the widget that it creates, where you visualize the data, is implantable onto the full text article page, so that people can visualize those interesting data sets without the publisher needing to create that infrastructure. So a little kind of widget plugin that allows you to visualize data sets, and then also look beyond that data set even at the raw data, to be able to eyeball it and download it and do all sorts of very interesting and cool things with it. So this is something that Mark and his team did with PLOS, that the Figshare team did with PLOS, and it's a really interesting portal that allows researchers to discover various types of data sets and interact with it, and also PLOS recently mandated that everybody who submits articles to them, they have to include their raw data that goes into the article, and so it creates, almost with practically no effort from the publisher, you basically turn the journal into a data publication in addition to being a traditional publication. So it's a very cool way of expanding the power of that article, of expanding the ways in which that can be useful to the end user, to that researcher. And the last one that I want to talk about is Recube, cross-platform reference manager and indexing service. It's growing It's growing massively in the number of people who use it. It's very popular amongst researchers, amongst end users. One of the very cool things about it is that it goes from the publisher's platform itself. So it basically overlays a PDF reading experience that keeps users online. So instead of clicking on that PDF and just disappearing off the platform, it continues to have them on the platform reading that PDF in a way that is trackable, in a way that you can get data from, in a way that you can continue to engage with people. It continues that engagement onto the reference manager, into the mobile application, and all the way along that chain you can still engage with that researcher, and even kind of you're reaching your platform onto their desktop reference manager and their mobile device, so you can really maintain that level of engagement, and that's incredibly useful in learning about that user's preferences, about their behaviors, and also it enables you to do something pretty cool, which is to create novel price points, novel value propositions, if you like. And here's an example of a product we call Recube Checkout, which enables us to sell content at new and different price points, because we can control that point of use and control that point of acquisition of the content. So we have a rental model which does exactly what it says on the tin. You can download it to your reference manager, you can take it with you everywhere you go, and after some length of time it times out. So it's a kind of a classical rental but with a full quality PDF. There's a version that is unique to that individual user's account, so it becomes like a personal license, if you like. And then of course, for completeness, we had a regular PDF which could be exported from the Recube reading environment and used as a regular old PDF. So that's a pretty cool use of technology, which enables us to kind of create new value props, if you like. We rolled it out on Nature over the course of several months, starting back in September 2012. And this is a 12-month trial that we performed, and in this case we used it as essentially like a channel partner. So researchers were still able to purchase content and the traditional pay-per-view system that was on nature.com, but in addition they were also able to do a first page preview in the Recube reading environment, and then make a purchase at first of all of those rental and those cloud options, and then later at the full price PDF option. And what we discovered is that over time we rose to kind of 40% of the pay-per-view transaction numbers that Nature have traditionally done in the previous year compared to the previous year. And the graph at the bottom shows that in that time period, actually in the 2013, we didn't cannibalize traditional pay-per-view revenue. In actual fact, the number of people purchasing articles on nature.com went up, which is a really interesting fact. It shows that if you offer new price points, if you offer new choices, customers enjoy being given that choice. They feel engaged, and they're more likely to make a purchase at any price point. I think this is something that in retail has been known for some time. That's why people carry multiple different product lines, and they have a very cheap one, and then they have a more expensive version. And once you give people choices, they start to more rationally, if you like, engage with that value proposition and make a decision about how much something is of value to them, and because something is of value, they are more likely to purchase it. We also did a trial on Wiley Online Library, and just the main aim of this was really to improve the user experience, to make it easier for people to make purchases, and to create better user engagement with folks. And if you look at this page just here, just take a second to look at this. And this is a kind of a classic challenge page, or a paywall page, or whatever you like to call it. And can anybody see on this page where you're supposed to click in order to buy this article? No? Can't quite tell? I think it's somewhere down here over on the right, but I'm not quite sure. So we changed the way that looked just a little tiny bit, and we made it look like that. And by simply creating a more accessible environment for purchasing the article, for making it easy where you click, for making it obvious, how you actually make a purchase, we increased the pay-per-view revenue by 40%. and we increased the number of transactions by about 90%. So by essentially creating a plug-and-play pay-per-view e-commerce system, we made a significant increase to the amount of revenue that we were getting from these individual pay-per-view single article purchases. So it was pretty successful, we think. So in summary, just to kind of sum up what I hope that I'm getting across here is that publishers can look for opportunities to engage with users that satisfy their needs beyond traditional publishing, beyond dissemination and accreditation and all the rest of it. There is more that you can do. There is more ways that you can engage with people, and there are people in the space who are able to help you do that, and to select opportunities based on whether it helps you to engage, and then whether that engagement is likely to make a difference. Does it enable you to capitalise on that engagement? And then thirdly, I'd like to make the point that improving user engagement can really make a tangible difference to your business. It is, as I hope I've shown, it can be something that can can help you meet your business goals. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll just exit that.